If we do one thing well on this channel, it's pattern recognition. We want you to know what's about to happen before it happens. And President Trump just announced that he's spending the entire weekend at Camp David. Trump hates Camp David. This would be the first time that President Trump has been to the famous U.S. president's retreat in rural Maryland and spent the entire weekend there. They don't even have a full golf course, just a little putting green. This is, of course, torture for President Trump. It is also kind of old and shabby and not particularly well furnished. However, Camp David does have significance, media significance, and I don't think that it's because of the skeet shooting, although it'd be really cool to see President Trump blasting off. Have you ever seen President Trump fire a gun? I don't think so. Remember this famous photo? Yeah, this is more like it for Obama. Yeah, this is more like the firearm that Barack Obama would use if you were to break into Obama's house. We know that Michelle would be the one defending the home. She's the one with the cannon. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump doesn't use Camp David. Camp David is famous because of its historic significance for peace deals and for large negotiations, things that tend to change the world. And that's what we expect to be happening this weekend. President Trump will be spending the whole weekend at Camp David. What could he be doing? Well, we think it has something to do with the tracksuit. Marco Rubio warned Cuba. Marco Rubio is Cuban. And he warned Cuba time and time again that if they did not change their entire form of government, that they would be getting Maduro'd. This was Marco Rubio on his way to China. This was a message saying, if you don't comply with America and our demands that Cuba stop being a enemy base 90 miles from where I live in Florida, that we are going to take control of our own hemisphere, the way that we did with Maduro. Now, this came on the same day that they announced from the DOJ that Raul Castro, the only living brother of Fidel Castro, is now charged in America for murder. And that means that America has the right and obligation to go get him. And maybe that's something that was being discussed here when the CIA had a very creepy meeting with Cuba. And the CIA just sort of dropped in there to have a little chit chat with their Cuban counterparts. Here's CIA Director Ratcliffe. Well, that's interesting. The CIA doing ops out in the open in Cuba, warning them of things to come. And these are the things that are about to happen because Cuba just made a huge change, and it's going to potentially be something that Donald Trump announces this weekend. I want you to be prepared for that. First, Marco Rubio being asked, wait a second, are we going to start arresting Castros? The political answer here would be like, of course not. No, Fidel Castro is an independent leader. Not Marco. Dude's got a chip on his shoulder. He's, of course, Cuban from a refugee family from Cuba. And Marco goes ape.
Florida returned an indictment on Raul Castro. It has nothing to do with us. It's a grand jury. The evidence is clear. He admits to it. Raul Castro openly admits and brags about he shot down civilian, gave the order to shoot down civilian airplanes.
And how are you getting here?
Well, I'm not going to talk about how we're going to get him here. If we were trying to get him here, why would I say to the media what our plans are about that? I know you have to ask, but why would I answer that?
I'm not going to talk about how we're going to get him. That's what Marco says. Marco then says that Cuba not only has weapons from Russia and China, but they're used as a Russia and Chinese intelligence operation, checkpoint, and hotspot. Our preference for Cuba or anywhere in the world would be negotiate a diplomatic settlement. But unfortunately, it's a threat to our national security, and we have a right and obligation to address the threat. They've been telling you what's about to happen. President Trump just moved a massive aircraft carrier off the shore of Cuba. This is something that you need to be prepared for. And, ladies and gentlemen, Marco Rubio, of course, is posing with photos in front of Southcom, in front of a giant map of Cuba. You can see a very detailed land map of Cuba and Cuba's infrastructure. Cuba has no infrastructure. Their entire island is on total and complete blackout. And President Trump saying, yes, Camp David, very rustic, very nice. we're going to Camp David this weekend. Trump hates Camp David. Again, it's nice. You'd like it. You know how long you'd like it for? For about 30 minutes. Again, President Trump hates Camp David. He's going there for a reason. Communist Party just moments ago announced changes that would make your ancestors' eyes water. Because your ancestors lived through the Bay of Pigs and through Fidel Castro and the nuclear scare. And we thought it was going to kick off World War III when the Russians were putting nukes in Cuba, nukes that could hit America. It was, of course, before ICBMs. So you would have to have like a land station in order to launch a nuclear weapon, but you could hit New York City. And Fidel Castro, in his own writings, says that's exactly what he wanted to do. Cuba's Communist Party approves emergency economic plan opening the country to capitalist economic enterprise. Ooh, doggy. Things are cooking. Okay, what has just happened? Cuba's government now says that there's going to be uniform legal rules for state-run private enterprises. Private sector will participate in more areas of the economy, elimination of price controls, launching a renegotiation process to swap national debt for domestic assets, creating stable framework to promote investment, technology transfers, and donations to Cubans living abroad, authorizing direct foreign investment in the private sector with clear rules regarding property ownership, dispute resolution, and profit repatriation, giving farmers access to foreign currency and the right to import their own raw materials. Whoa. Providing state-run businesses and municipalities more autonomy, merging state and government institutions to eliminate duplicate functions, eliminating taxes and tariffs on solar energy and technologies, fiscal deficit reductions through increased taxes, slashing of unnecessary expenditures. Oh my. So it's like this is the precursor to a complete and total regime collapse. Cuba's powerful Communist Party on Thursday approved an emergency economic package featuring unprecedented free market measures aimed at opening up the struggling island's economy as pressure from the U.S. and European Union heightens. The document, which has not yet been made public, will be submitted to Cuba's National Assembly. It envisions expanding opportunities for private enterprise, greater autonomy for municipalities. In recent days, residents in several Havana neighborhoods staged protests, banging pots and pans, outages across the island. Cuba resists heroically and creatively, but they've endured for too long a barbaric, undeserved, and unbearable punishment, which is now added a threat of military aggression. What do you think? Many online are saying, listen, there's only one way out of this, and it's not going to be with the Castro regime. The Communist Party has to give up power. Cuba's Communist Party approves sweeping free market reforms, an unprecedented move to open the economy. Trump has the Western Hemisphere in a chokehold, and I love it. You get a load of this? 1,000%. This is Trump getting Cuba to come around. Communism is collapsing. Total free market victory. Privatize everything. Country's socialist economy did disrupt. Cuban legislators unanimously approved the reforms backed by the Communist Party and former leader Raul Castro. I wonder why. Privatized vast swaths of the socialist economy in a bid to survive the punishing U.S. sanctions. No company will invest in a large sum like Venezuela. The risk is too high and there's no transition. Before Trump leaves office, everything is reversed. That's right. The fall of communism is happening soon. The regime will fall. Largest economic reform since 1959. The parliament unanimously approved it. Private real estate development, creation of private banks, transformation of some of the state's enterprises into commercial companies, erasing restrictions on private businesses. The turn towards the market has supported by Communist Party country leader Raul Castro. Ooh. I got to tell you, man, I think this is why Trump's going. This is why Trump's going to Camp David. I think this has got to be part of it. He said we'll do Cuba right after Iran. Well, Iran seems to be zipped up. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the chances of a U.S. invasion of Cuba at 23%. I'll take that bet. I think that's what's going on. Marco Rubio knows he's going to shoot his shot right now. JD's been out here shadow boxing, doing great. Marco Rubio's like, nope, attention back to the State Department. Let's take over Cuba. And I'm all for it. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe.